Look at that, I hit the like button early. Tap the screen. I was ready to go, and I thought I'll wait till 7, but here I am. Cheers. Nobody's here yet. The dude, all hail the king. Cheers. Good to have you along. Happy New Year to one and all. Wanna drag 1321. Hello, hey man. That's not a familiar name. You've either got a bad memory or you're new. Old timer. Hey, welcome along, man. Landom Custom Classics. Hello, buddy. Eric Uncaffer, Unicaffer, I'm not sure how you pronounce that one. Uncaffer, I'm guessing. Good to have you guys all along. Now, it's really not that cold in here. I just put that on to kind of a dramatic effect, that goes. Because it's damn cold outside, or at least I think it is. I know I've been getting a few comparisons from my northern subscribers that are feeling the cold a lot worse than I am. So, but that's cool. The dude, do you get any speeding tickets over there in Kiwiland? Not that I'm aware of, but you never know. They have a lot of speed cameras over in New Zealand. So, yeah, it's possible, but actually, for the most part, there was a lot of traffic, so there wasn't really that much opportunity to even speed. And the roads in New Zealand, when they're busy, it's mostly just two lane highways, so like one each way. So yeah, when you're behind someone going slow, like overtaking's difficult, and you generally just have to roll with it and go with the flow, John McCormick, hey Kiwi, fellow Kiwi here. How did you end up living in the USA? Mate, I kept applying for the green card lottery, and name came up. So we just grabbed the opportunity and sold up and headed to the States. It was kind of good timing. New Zealand, we were just a little bit stuck in the rut, Groundhog Day, same old. It was an opportunity to sort of have a big adventure and head to the States, where I'd kind of, always wanted to live in the States from being quite young. It just seemed like a place, that would suit me, and it does. Won the lottery, packed up, and headed here. Now, old timer. I finished off a bottle of Knob Creek 9-year-old 100 proof tonight. Oh, good Lord! Hopefully it wasn't like too much of a bottle, because 100 proof that'll sort you out fairly quickly. Joss H, hey, well, good to have you along, mate. Thank you. Long Island Mopars, how you doing, buddy? Freezing up there in the northeast, man. I bet I'm sure it is. It's I mean, I'm complaining about the cold, but yeah, I guess it's not that cold really. But I guess the shock was coming back from New Zealand at at 80, 85 degrees, and kind of walking into that weather was like, golly, like there's been that 3 weeks, it seems to have really, that I've been gone 3.5 weeks, it's winter's really like taken hold here. So it feels like we've dropped, 25 degrees just, in that 3 weeks I've been gone. There was no easing into it, Dude, you came back with fine written like, well, I mean, I got check out the t-shirt, guy. This is, now you need to talk about what you got for Christmas. This is one of the things I got, and I want, and I give you like three guesses to who got me this. So yeah, that's kind of a bit of a, if you can't figure it out, it's like, well, yeah. Kenny Boyd, g'day, mateys. Yeah, Landon Custom Classics, Dan. How you doing, buddy? No, the dude has had some new merch. No, there's just a one-off shirt that the wife bought me. So yeah, it's not a bad T-shirt though, is it? I mean, that obviously someone is already selling this, but it wouldn't be a bad one to copy, would it, or something? Yeah, it's really not bad. Barry Cooter, I'm sweating. Well, nobody likes to show off, mate. No, it's nice and warm in New Zealand now, isn't it? It is nice over there. Orlando Pockets, Kiwi is back. Yes, I am. Glad to be back too. It was a little bittersweet leaving NZ. Had a better time than usual. I think I managed to get a bit more car stuff in. There was a little bit less. A couple of times I've been back. It's for been for funerals. I was back for a wedding that was busy. And this time it was kind of a little bit more about just enjoying the time there. And got to do that. Got to go to a few car shows, go to a few guys' sheds and stuff. And it was really good. It was really good. I enjoyed it, and the weather was awesome. Got to do a little bit of not deep sea fishing. We went fishing for kahawai, not kahawai, kingfish. Sorry, kingfish. That was an experience. Kingfish fight, man. They really fight. One of them that we lost a few. One got away, but one of the ones that got away actually came pretty close to taking me off my feet. Like it was trying to pull my feet out from under me. And yeah, they're powerful fish, man. So that was an exciting day. The dude, do they call gas juice over there in New Zealand? Not really. They would know what you meant, but it's not a name that we typically call it petrol. Got to get some petrol. So yeah, and you guys really Americans, I don't think appreciate quite how cheap their gas is, because it costs like around here it's about $2.80 a gallon at the moment. New Zealand, for an equivalent grade, it's about exactly the same, but it's for 1 litre. Now, the difference is there's 3.8 litres in a gallon. So, if gas is almost 4 times the price. Like I was topping the Mustang off, I get to about half a tank. Now, Mustangs don't have big fuel tanks, right? They're a 16-gallon tank. So I was topping it off, around the half a tank mark, and it was costing $100 every time. And they don't go that far on half a tank, So yeah, gas is expensive. Kenny Boyd, I didn't step outside once today. Well, I stepped outside twice. That was going to work. Well, because I park in the garage. So yeah, getting out of the car at work, going inside, and going outside to get back in the car. That was my twice today. Landon Custom Classics. Too cold for me to work on cars here. 6 this morning and 8 inches of snow. Yeah. Wow, that's cold. And 8 inches of snow. Ugh. We're supposed to be getting some snow here in Nashville at the end of the week, but we'll see how much we get. We don't every couple of years we get a decent fall of snow, and it kind of makes the roads a bit treacherous for a week, but that's usually about the extent of it. Barry Cooter, juice, sometimes motion lotion. Yep. Driveway of Misfits. Hey, Kiwi's back. Yes, I am, buddy. I am back. Glad to have you along. Driveway of Misfits. This is Chris Freemesser, by the way. Okay, you had a change of names. Was the the police department looking for you? You had to change your name. What's that about? Or a spurned lover or something. So you're changing your identity. Derek Deberjack. Hush, don't let on about the petrol, mate. Long Island Mopars. Curious, is there a push towards EVs in New Zealand? Yes, there is. The government was pushing it quite hard for quite a while. They've now kind of taken a slight. They've had a change of government, but now they've taken away some of the incentives and they've added road user charges or road user tax to the electric vehicles, because that in the cost of gas in New Zealand, there's a tax on the gas which goes towards keeping the upkeep of the roads, the highways. So of course the EVs weren't paying anything. They were using the roads, and of course what they quickly started to realise with the weight of EVs, they take more of a toll on the road than the regular gas cars, but they weren't paying anything towards the upkeep. So the government brought in new road user charges. So I'm honestly not sure quite what it is. But yeah, it's bumped up the cost of running an EV. And I believe they've taken away some of the subsidies when you buy a new one. So yeah, that market has slowed down a little. Personally, I think New Zealand's probably one of the worst countries to have an EV in, because the roads are very hilly. It's a volcanic island. It's a big island, but it's volcanic, so there's a lot of hills, a lot of mountain ranges. And going up and down hills and twisting around corners and accelerating, slowing down for the windy roads, is really messes with an EV's fuel consumption. Not fuel, but electric consumption. So they're not really that ideally suited, in my opinion. But, I'm probably a little against EVs anyway, so you've got to take that for what it is. Right. The dude, I watched a video where this guy in Australia was told by his dad to put juice in his car. So he bought oh no, really? So he bought 30 bottles of V8 fruit juice and filled the tank. He had to hire a company to pump it out. Good Lord. That's, I guess somebody might be that stupid. Yeah. Then he wanted to drink it, but the fuel pump guy wouldn't let him since it had a little petrol mixed in. Good grief. That's I'm not. That's a little tough one to believe or to swallow, no pun intended. But I guess, people can, maybe. Chris Freemesser, Driveway of Misfits. Yeah, I made this mistake of helping Kev rob the Vatican. Now I'm wanted, man, by Interpol. Ooh, that's not a good thing. Yeah. Direct Deberjack, many Chinese cars in New Zealand. Yeah, there are a few. Because cars are expensive in New Zealand. So, that makes it a little easier for the Chinese to jump in there, or Chinese cars to jump in and be cost effective. So, it's a little bit tougher when they're dealing, trying to sell them into America with the strength of the American dollar. Because cars here are, the locals don't think they're cheap, but by comparison, they are cheap, yeah. Josh Homan, good to be here. We're glad to have you here, buddy. All right, so what all car parts did you guys get for Christmas? Was Santa good to you guys? Did you get anybody get superchargers or turbochargers or suspension kits, or like who got spoiled? Long Island Mopars. How was the flight coming back? Long, mate. That's it's a one-word answer. Long. It's just long. I mean, it's the seats are small. We're just flying economy, cattle class. YouTube doesn't pay enough for first class just yet. But But no, they're very small seats, and it's a 12-hour flight. So yeah, it's a long time. You get a couple of meals and like one drink. So yeah. Todd Denio, hello Kiwi from Chile, Eli, Minnesota, -20. Ow. Actually, -20. Wow, that is cold. Without the wind chill. Glad you got home safely and you had a good visit with your family and friends. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It really was a good visit. Got to see a lot of cars, and I was really pleasantly surprised. That probably seems a bit harsh. Not surprised, but just pleasantly proud, I guess you could say, at the level and the quality of the cars. What thing you don't really see much is rat rods. But you see a lot of hot rods, a lot of Aussie stuff, a lot of English stuff. There is a real cross section of cars. There's all sorts of stuff. Obviously European as well. You go to a Cars and Coffee here, and unless it's like here locally, they had a Euro day once a month. They'd have a Cars and Coffee every Saturday, and then it would be Euro day once a month, and you'd get the Mercs and the Beamers and stuff like that once a month. And the rest of the time, it was 95% American. Every show I went to in New Zealand had Aussie cars, English cars, German, American. A lot of American. It is still essentially hot rodding. And the home, as we all know, the home of hot rodding is the States. So yeah, it's but yeah, I was really, I think proud's probably the best word at the quality, and some of those shed bills, a couple of the shed bills that I covered, the cars were really to a high standard, and some of that I've got to put down to the level of the bar that the government set. You can't be a cowboy and just throw a car together and get it on the road, and you can't. I mean, cowboys may be the wrong word, but there's some people out there building cars that really don't know necessarily what they're doing, and they just go ahead and do it and figure it out kind of the hard way. In New Zealand, you don't get to take the car to the road unless it's right. And there's people, there's checks and balances along the way. You've got to, the car's got to be a fairly high standard. So then it's easy to roll into, while we're doing it this nice, we've got to do it to this level. Let's go a little bit beyond that. And the cars are really nice. Whereas when there is no bar for safety, for handling, for anything like that, then some of the stuff you do see around here, here being the States, is not as good as it could be, shall we say? And some of that's deliberate, and some of it is guys not quite, having the knowledge that they need to build a car. But yeah, that was kind of my take on it. The dude, did you notice the toxic fog at all in New Zealand? We've been getting hit hard with it here in the USA. I'm hearing it's been released all over the world. Toxic fog? Not familiar with that one, but toxic fog. Not sure whether is that the media or what are you talking? Some of this shit they're putting out's toxic. I know that. Mr. Freemesser, sport myself and brought the 85 Chrysler LeBaron GTS that Jamie from Dead Dodge Garage worked on. Oh, that's kind of cool. 85 Chrysler. Mate, I would have to Google that to even know what that looks like. I think I know what it looks like, but I'm not really sure. So GTS. Okay, so was that just badging, or was that a little more performance orientated? Dickie Farley, hey, welcome to the room, man. How you doing? Long on a Mopars. For Christmas, I got reminded that I need to do ball joints and control arm bushings in the 66 Coronet this year. You got reminded that they didn't get your ball joints or any or bushings? Like, really, someone should have bought you that. Craig Nearing, hey Kiwi, good to see you back in one piece. Yeah, mate, we all got back in one piece. A little stiffer and a little crankier when we got off the plane, but it's all good now. Barracuda, stupidity exists. I've heard of a work experience kid asked to sand down a Range Rover, which he did, but he included the windows? No. Carillo, -5 centigrade here in Finland. Wow. I would like to see New Zealand palm trees. Yeah, it was kind of cool seeing that stuff. It was. So, yeah. Driveway of Misfits, Chris again. Took my Beetle to a classic car night at a local restaurant. I was the only foreign car at the show. Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I'm not complaining about that, what it is here. I mean, the massive amount of old American stuff is part of what brought me here. Like I do love that stuff. But it is kind of refreshing to see some stuff that's a little different. So yeah, okay. Long Island Mopars, let the bushings go until they pop out and then blame the guy that tied it down to the trailer. I've seen that done by a famous YouTuber. Oh, which famous YouTuber? Go on. Out them. Don Ballot, bring any motors home with you? No, mate, I didn't. It's I got enough to do, I kind of told myself I was going to try and do a bit of research on a barra motor, and I did meet a few more people over there that can probably help me with that, but I really just didn't have time to do anything about it myself. And that over that Christmas period in New Zealand, the place really does kind of close down a bit. Because we end up with 2-3 day weeks in a row, and people tend to add their holidays into that, so they can take 6 days holiday and get 2 weeks straight off. So like the place tends to shut down a little bit over Christmas. So yeah. Chris Freemason, the dude, I know who you're talking about. I've got an idea in mind, but I'm not sure. I'm not going to say. But I don't want to appear disparaging, Morganizer, kia ora from a fellow Kiwi, and where's that? Bamau. Okay, you got me there. Was that Birmingham, Alabama? Birmingham, Alabama. Oh, we got a Kiwi in Alabama. That's not far away, man. It's not far away. You should come up and say hi. Danny Boyd, Kia should make a New Zealand-only model called the Kiwi. Oh, shit. A Kiwi street, where I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. There was a Kiwi street. There you go. The dude, it was your old pal Baldo. He blamed Dallas for it. Sounds about right. Yeah, I wondered that. Craig Nearing, was it weird to be with right side drive vehicles again? Well, yes, it was. The weirdest thing is actually driving on the other side of the road and remembering, particularly when you go through intersections or across an intersection, if you're not like following someone else, if it's down on you, to remember which side of the road you kind of got to think. And then what really confused me even more was because I was jumping between a right-hand drive car and a left-hand drive, being the Mustang. And so that just confused the brain even more. I was like, which side of the car do I even get in at times, especially if you're getting a bit tired. And but yeah, I pulled onto the wrong side of the road a couple of times and went, ooh. Yeah, so it's tricky. But by like a week and a half in, it was becoming a little more, going back to second nature again, which was good. But yeah, that having to drive right and left hand, because when I'm in a left hand drive car, I feel very much at home now. So I was just going straight to the right hand side of the road, that's a no in New Zealand. You can't do that. Which I saw a couple of times, saw cars coming towards me, and in my brain I'm going, what the heck are you doing on the wrong? Oh, hang on, it's me. So getting ready to blame them, and it was me that was screwing up. So it happens. It's confusing. Morganiser, Birmingham. Yep, I would love to. Yeah, man. Reach out an email or give me a call, and come by. Andy Nicol, welcome home. Looked like you had an awesome holiday. I really did. Yeah, it was good. It was busy. It wasn't that restful. It was busy, and we partied reasonably hard a lot of the time, more than I would have been at home, kind of thing. So there was a lot more bourbon drunk than normal, and a lot more late nights than normal. So it wasn't super restful. But yeah, I wouldn't change it either. It was great. Corolla 69. I saw your version of subframe connectors in Classic Mustang. I have a 69 Coupe. Do you notice the difference to the original? Have no experience. The subframe connectors, if they're welded in, I'm really not a great believer at all in bolt-in subframe connectors. They still allow the flex that you're trying to defeat. But whenever you bolt it together, there's always room for a little bit of movement. And the thing with subframe connectors, they don't get rid of inches of twist. They get rid of just a little bit of twist, which you definitely feel. So that little bit of movement in the bolts where they're bolted together, basically it becomes a cosmetic piece rather than actually a functional upgrade to your car. So weld-in subframe connectors, you will notice a difference. The car just feels tighter, it's a big improvement. Don Ballot, it's 30 degrees Fahrenheit in Birmingham, Alabama. I didn't move far enough south. No, mate. Yeah, you need to be down the bottom of Florida somewhere and keep it warm. Dean Stevenson, you're feeling the cold a bit, mate. All these little ice icons. Long Island Mopars. What's the first project car you need to start work on? Now that I'm back, large Marge. I did actually start. I had a lunchtime yesterday. I started stripping more of that electric seat mechanism for large Marge, and I've got to go and get myself a big old bucket, and we're going to try that electrolysis setup to try and get rid of the rust, because I managed to strip a few more bits off the mechanism, and that thing is frozen solid. It's like someone took a 200 amp welder and welded it together. It is not going anywhere in a hurry. So I think I'm going to have to throw that in one of these, battery charged up buckets of water and whatever that chemical is you put with it, and just, throw it in there and walk away, and come back in a week and see what I've got left. So I suspect I'll have to do. But I've got to. Lots of plans on Marge. Get some floors in it. I've got to reshoot the video of repairing the floors, because I had a whole video on that, and then the SD card died, got corrupted, and they tried to retrieve it, and what they retrieved you couldn't even see. So that was just a complete loss. But never mind. So do some floor work, some video on, making the floors look factory again, not just slapping a sheet down over the hole. So yeah, I can show you the after picture, but I want to actually go through what I did. So we'll be doing that. We'll get the floors straightened out, and in the background, get the seat working, get the seat in, get some upholstery in it, some weather seals, so we can drive it in the winter and not have rain pouring in, which it does at the moment. So yeah, we've got to stop the water leaks because otherwise the new floor will just rust away again. So yeah, plenty to do on that. So that's kind of top of the list, and then the other thing I'll be starting on is the little Sunbeam Alpine for Mrs. Kiwi. So I've kind of done a few little bits and pieces to it, but I'm trying to get a couple of cars out of the shop so that I can roll that kind of out a little bit and start on, well, with some body work to do on it to make it strong enough to actually like put on a rotisserie. But prior to the rotisserie, the plan is to body swap it onto a Mazda Miata frame or floor pan. Can't say chassis because they don't really have a chassis. They're a unibody, but we're going to cut everything that makes it an MX-5 or a Miata off it and slide it underneath Sunbeam Alpine, which sounds easy, right? Yeah, shouldn't be hard. The problem is we've got to widen the body 4 inches. So I've got to put 2 inches down each side, which basically means slicing off both sides of the car, like the outer skins, moving it all out, 2 inches each side, welding it back together. That's doors, including the doors. And Mrs. Kiwi's very specific about what she wants. She's going to let me modify it, but she doesn't want it to look like it's modified. So we can't put flared wheel arches on it, like the Cobra, the AC Cobra's got quite, most of the kit cars have got quite big flares on them to get the bigger wheels in. She doesn't want that. Doesn't want a Cobra look-alike. So it's got to retain that Alpine look. And the other discrepancy we've got is the Miata's about 4 inches longer in the wheelbase. So I'm actually going to cut the nose off, like just in front of the cowl, right through the outer fenders and stretch the whole lot out forward. Now, did think about shortening the Miata up, but they're a pretty compact little car anyway. And by stretching the body out rather than shortening the chassis, it's going to give me more room for the motor, which is going to be a V8. I've still got to decide yet whether it's going to be a small block Ford or an LS. Don't know yet. I'm kind of flipping and flopping on that. Oh, now let's just scroll up a little bit here because I've been yammering on and not reading the questions. Okay. Todd Denio, Kiwi, what was the first car you worked on when you moved to the USA? First car I worked on for myself was my 57 Buick, which I've still got. And that's slated for some work. That's no longer running just because it got parked down the back of the yard. And shamefully by me, I just got so busy with work and kind of lost focus on that one. Well, I am going to get that going again, and that's going to be an early this year project to get that running in. Not going to take a lot, but it's still, a few days' work, and I've got to find those few days. So that's the first car I worked on in the States. That was for myself, and then as a professional kind of build was a 53 Lincoln Capri. Which was a cool old car, great old car. So yeah, that was. I've put a couple of pictures up every now and again of that car. I don't have any video of that car, and I've kind of lost track of where it's gone now. But yeah, that was my first professional gig here. Yeah, 53 Lincoln Capri, that came out to be a really nice car. Dean Stevenson, Wheel Magazine's Peter Robinson put a red tag on the left side of his arm to remember this is not a left-hand drive country. Yeah, it sounds silly, but it's really not a bad idea. And a lot of rental cars have arrows stuck onto the dash, like a little decal on the dash pointing to which side of the road you should be on. because they have had a lot. I guess a lot. I've got to be careful saying things like that, but they've had. I mean, any bad accident is one too many, But they have had a number of head-on collisions in New Zealand from tourists coming in. They'll stop at a rest stop or a lookout point, something like that. In a slightly quieter area, and then they'll pull back onto the wrong side of the road, and off they go. And they come around the corner, and there's a car coming the other way. So there's been a number of head-on collisions. Some of them not ending happily at all. Some have been fatal. So the rental cars started putting these decals on the dash, because you got to do something, don't you? You can't just let people keep killing themselves. Salamander. Did you see any of those nasty river eels? I did not, sir. I did not. Dean Stevenson's in the house. Danny, yeah, okay. Good to see you, man. You didn't even pick that up, dummy. Barracuda, I used the air conditioning in my Commodore yesterday. It's not blowing as cold as last summer. And what needs done to it? Probably a bit of gas, mate. Probably just a bit of gas. They do tend to leak away, over a period of time. That's kind of not necessarily a leak that needs fixing. But there's a lot of pressure in those systems, and it will escape past the seals slowly. But you do need to top them up, every now and again, every couple of years, kind of thing. Is not unusual. Danny Boyd, eel meat is shockingly good. I have never had it, man. I have to take your word for that. Todd Denier is probably low on refrigerant. Yeah, exactly. Right, there you go. The dude, theoretically, what would a guy have to do to be a modern here? Asking for a friend. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how that works. I probably should find out. It's something that a lot of people have, and they can kind of help. It's hard to keep up a little bit at times. And they can throw in some contact details and stuff like that instead of me trying to type it as well. But I need to make a couple of inquiries on that. I'll just have a bounce a couple of minutes, and suddenly Mexican Spec was a moderator. So I don't think it's that hard, but it's hard when you don't know how. So I'll work on that one, man. I'll work on that. What do we got? Don't care too. Welcome back, Kiwi. Cheers, mate. Thank you. Welcome along tonight. Straight bullet. You need to chase away all of the Kiwi trolls. The dude. I really don't. That's not something I've really had a problem with, honestly. I don't seem to have that issue like some YouTubers do. Some YouTubers attract quite a few trolls. But no, I don't. It's not something I've seen as yet. But maybe I'm just not big enough yet. I don't know. Go small block Ford in the Sunbeam. Yeah. I mean, that's what they had. The Sunbeam Tiger had a small block Ford in it. Obviously, I know my way around the small block Ford a lot better than I do an LS. I guess what appeals in the LS is an aluminum block, which yes, you can get for a small block Ford, but it's about $8,000 for an aluminum block. So ouch, that's probably as much as the budget for the engine was in total, not just for the block, So it'd be nice to lose that little bit of extra weight up the front of a very potentially nose-heavy little car. So and the drivability. I mean, I can put injection on a small block Ford, but it's going to be like a Holly or something like that. And like, well, we've all heard the stories about Holly fuel injection, and had to deal with the realities of Holly fuel injection. That what's nice with the LS is that you can use, you can use the factory computer, the factory ECU. As long as you don't go silly with the engine, which you don't really need to on a little wee Sunbeam. So, so that's kind of appeals that drivability, because Mrs. Kiwi is a little kind of spoilt with modern cars now, and she's not used to having to let cars warm up, and used to nursing them along when they're cold. And the way a carbureted car is always a little difficult when it's cold, so she's not used to any of that stuff. So we shall see. Welcome back. Sorry I'm late. Who's the little fella behind you, Kiwi? Herman. Yeah, that's Pee-wee. That's Pee-wee Herman doll that Fitzgeralding gave to me. He came by the shop a few months back now. Just came for a visit and brought me that. Pee-wee Herman's Big Adventure, Kiwi's Big Adventure with Large Marge, and Large Marge is from the Pee-wee's Big Adventure movie. So it all tied in. So so that's what he's doing there. Todd Denio, Kiwi, the 57 Buicks are sharp. I have a 57 Buick Roadmaster hubcap hanging on my wall. Well, there you go. Yeah, mine's a Super, a Buick Super, so it's the same body as the Roadmaster, just not quite as much trim on it. But yeah, it's that wider body that the 57s had. So that'll be up for sale before long. Probably hitting the time we hit spring. I'm hoping to have that on the market, because I don't really want to sell it, but I just can't justify keeping it. I don't have time to build all the projects I have, and something's got to go. The yellow Falcon that most of you will have seen on the videos is going to have to find a new home. And the Buick, they're kind of up on the first on the list to go find new homes. Someone that will. That Falcon's a good car. But I don't have time to do. I've got lots of ideas, but ideas are very quick to come across, and time is not so easy to find. All right, the holes. Kiwi, technical question: if you do a motor rebuild, do you check how many foot-pounds it takes to turn the short motor? As a check, nothing is a bit too tight or grabbing. Specs exist for that. Yeah, there is. If you dig for them, you can usually find a torque spec for what it should take to it'll be with the heads off, like with no compression, or maybe with the spark plugs out. But yeah, there is usually a spec somewhere if you dig for it that to turn it over. As a kind of double check, but also you can feel it. It shouldn't, will be a little tight with everything brand new, but you should be able to turn it over without too much difficulty. With a like a half-inch drive power bar, and a socket on the front pulley, it shouldn't be that hard to turn over, because the bearings. That's one thing. The bearings shouldn't be tight. You're supposed to have clearance in them and a little bit of assembly lube. It shouldn't take much at all to turn a crank over that's just bolted in, like with the mains. And I did watch a guy do a small block Chev, and he had all the specs. This is years and years and years ago. But he had a spec for how much inch-pounds of torque it should take to turn a small block Chevy crank over that's just bolt, with just a crank, no rods on it. And then he had another set for with the rods and pistons in and stuff like that. And it really was just a secondary double check, because if you've got your ring gaps correct, and the machine shop has got the piston to bore clearance, and really is that ever wrong? The machine shops that are doing it all day long, they don't usually. It's pretty unusual for them to screw that up. So yeah, it's typical things that can cause an issue like that are if you've got the ring gaps wrong, you just and they're jamming. that can make an engine tight, that kind of thing. It's not a bad idea. You just got to find the information, you know. Like if you quickly Google torque specs on an engine, they don't usually come up with that. You've got to dig a bit deeper. Morganizer T, when you grow up somewhere, the side of the road you drive on is hardwired. It's a struggle. Absolutely it is, yeah. I spent, how long? 25 years driving on the left-hand side of the road. That left-hand, right-hand thing just screws me up, yeah. 25 years is hard to get away from, and it really is hardwired, like you say, because if I'm still to this day, if I'm leaving the shop and I've had a long, tough day and I'm tired, every now and again I'll start walking to the right-hand side of the car because I'm just literally on autopilot. And yeah, when you go, to autopilot, that hardwired information kind of kicks in, and the brain's just taking you to the side of the car that it's spent the most time in. So yeah, it's a thing. That's why they say it's dangerous. It's as bad as drinking or driving, under the influence of alcohol, is that it's no more dangerous than driving when you're really fatigued. It has a similar effect, and it does. Your thought process slows down, and yeah, that's when I find myself making mistakes and going to the wrong side of the car. I've long since stopped getting in the wrong side of the car, and I did that in the early days of being here in the States. Yeah, more than once I got right in the car and closed the door and went, shit, where's the steering wheel? And then had to try and get out and walk around the car and get on the left side without looking like a complete moron, which was pretty hard to do. I think I pretty much look like a moron, but what you gonna do? Todd Denier, those old Buick nailheads were sweet sounding engines, and they were reliable, but they drank gas faster than a locomotive. Yeah, I had a 66 Buick Electra way back when, like a teenager, and they had a 425 in it. And my memories of it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was tough on gas, but it wasn't too bad. For a big tank, a Buick Electra is like just a 66 is massive, absolutely massive. And it wasn't too bad. It was getting, 12 miles per gallon or something like that on average. And I think on a trip, if you kept the speed right with the RPMs in a happy place, it was getting kind of 15, 16 on the run. I didn't think it was too bad. Morganizer, yeah, I could moderate too and help answer the Kiwi knowledge required questions. There you go. I've got 2 volunteers already tonight. How about that? Yeah, I'll try and look into that and see what's involved, or at least ask someone that knows. Dean Stevenson, I chase away myself. The dude, just click my name and click add moderator. Really? It's that simple? So click on your little T or on the little dots on the side of it. I'll try. Add as a moderator. Look at that. It is that simple. I'm just reading this. I'm not being very entertaining, am I? Because I'm reading something else. There you go. Look at that. I have just as quick as that. I have two moderators. Look at that. I'm in the big leagues now. I've got 2 moderators. I'm in the big leagues. Yay, me. 69 Falcon 289. Is it better to do a full floor pan or half pans for 69 Falcon? My question is, can you get a full floor pan? Well, I guess you must do. You wouldn't be asking the question. I'm a fan of putting full floor pans in. If you've got to put the two halves, you end up with two ugly joins up both sides of the tunnel. It's definitely cheaper. Like full floor pans are, a lot more than the two halves, which, if the floor pan was only cost, what the two halves cost, it'd be really a no-brainer. But, a full floor pan, they're usually quite a little bit more expensive, and you got a ton more shipping on them because they're big. But your end result really is a lot nicer, and it doesn't take any longer to do because you don't have those two big long joins on each side of the tunnel. So you save all that welding, and you end up with a much nicer result at the end of it. So, it's a bit more unpicking to do, to get the whole floor pan out. But your end result, and a lot, depends what you're trying to achieve, and what your budget is. Like, it's one thing to want, we'd all want 800 horsepower, but we can't all afford 800 horsepower, myself included. So yeah, it's a balance between what you want and what you can do. Todd Denier, yeah, I mean, you're giving. Hang on, the thing shot up there. I missed a few. There we go. Is it better? 69,000. So I think I've just said the same as Todd Denier. He's what he's saying is right. Yeah, if the floor's not too bad, then yeah. But if you've got, holes in the front at both sides and you've got holes in the back at both sides, that really, yeah, full floor pan is better. And I don't know that it's that much. If you've got the skills to put in two halves, then you've got the skills to put in a full floor pan, in my opinion. They're a little bit bigger and bulkier to handle, and you usually need someone to help you get them in and out. So as long as you've got a buddy that can come over and just, doesn't have, it doesn't take long. You've just got to be able to lift it in. And of course, the other thing too is getting it in the car. Often with the half pans, you just put it in through the door. With a full floor pan, you've usually got to go in. You can go in from underneath, or depending on the car, and or sometimes you've got to go in through the front windshield. So there's a couple of ways of getting it in, but it's typically tougher than, doing the halves. So there's a bit more work in that respect, but you do save a lot of welding. So my vote would be for a full floor pan. But I'm not writing the check for you either, mate. So, Morganise, are you drinking whiskey and dry? No, mate, that's bourbon. That's straight bourbon. That's Jack Daniel's apple bourbon. Or bourbon whiskey, I should say. Todd Denier, Buick nailheads also made great torque for their time. Yes, they did. I have a 425 nailhead disassembled in the garage looking for a home. There you go. Think you'd fit one of those in a Sunbeam Alpine? That'd be an interesting conversion, wouldn't it? Yeah, I've got a 425 nailhead under the bench at work. And, I think it would just be I don't know. It would be an interesting motor to put in a little Sunbeam, but, yeah, I'm probably going to go with the Ford or the Ford or the LS. Steve, the guy that works for me, the buddy of mine that works for me, he does the filming sometimes. He's got a 54 Chevy, which you guys will be seeing a bit more of that. He's got a really cool 54 Chevy two-door sedan. And I've been trying to talk him into putting the nailhead, the one I've got under the bench, into that. Because he's got it on airbags and it's lowered. It's going to be it's a custom car, and currently it's got a small block Chevy in it, which is, great engine. Don't get me wrong, but it's just boring to look at. Like not every. Obviously LS is taking over now, but the small block Chev's just in so many cars, and for me to pop the hood on that 54. Chevy, and have a nail head in it, I just think would add to that old school, seriously cool factor. I'm trying to talk him into doing that. Time will tell. At the moment, he just wants to get it running so he can drive it, and the small block Chevy's already in there. So it might be a little tough to make him do the swap, but I'll work on it. I think it'd be cool. Now, Barracuda, the properly nasty New Zealand eel is the conger eel. Do we get congers down in New Zealand? I didn't think we did. Maybe we do. Not that I'm an expert on eels at all. Stray bullet. Do you see what a good job the dude is doing? There are no trolls. No, that's right. There's not. So yeah, he's doing a stellar job. Stray bullet, put an aluminum 2V 4.6 engine in the Sunbeam. Like the modular motor. Is that what you mean? God knows, it's too huge. They're giant motors for a little 4.6. No, it wouldn't be. No, it would be an old school small. If it's going forward, it'll be an old school small block Ford. Same with the Coyote is out because it's just so big. I mean, that's an aluminum block. So that would win on the weight department, but it's just way too big because it's huge in a Mustang engine bay, and the Sunbeam's about half the size. So and that 4.6 modular engine is what the Coyote's based on. Really, the Coyote is really a twin cam 4-valve modular engine. Beagle Bob, welcome back to the right side up part of the world. Yes, I'm on the top of the world, as they say. Driveway of Misfits. Have we seen a video of your Buick? No, you haven't. You have not seen a video. Tony and Art came over and did a bit of a video on it, and Art took the carburetor away and rebuilt the carb for me. And then we had that whole drama, which I hate drama, over that Street Side Classics. And yeah, me and Art are still on good talking terms, and he's said he wants to come back, and his plan was to get the Buick fired up for me, just to give some content for his channel, which I'm down with that. Someone wants to work on my car and make a video of it, have at it, and Dr. Art knows what he's doing. So, but I've got to get the Buick into the shop to get it on the rack, so that we've got to get the starter motor out. The starter motor on it's dead. And Dr. Art tried to take it out in the car park, and it was not coming out. The exhaust was in the way, and it was just, we need to get that starter motor up out. It's frozen. So yes, watch this space. Videos coming. It'll either be on my channel or Dr. Art's. I need to check back with him and see what he's doing and what his time frame's like. But the Buick's coming. And it's a cool old car. It's a 2-door hardtop. It's a neat old car. I used to take to work and back, but then life got in the way. Don Ballot, when you turn a fresh motor over, I mainly look to make sure it's even, no tight or loose spots. That's solid advice. Yeah, if it's getting tight spots, then there's an issue for sure. That's good advice. Tavo, hey man, welcome along. How's that hand of yours, buddy? Hope you're on the mend. 45 years driving on the correct side of the road here. Well, that's right. Yes. Some would disagree with you, bud, but not saying I do, but some would. But yeah, good to have you in the room, mate. James Martin, here's one for you, Kiwi. Worked on a Ford F350 power steering leak. Gone viral. Turns out not those box pump gas engine uses hydro boost for power and steering. They fail. Huh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, they would be hydro boost. That sounds about right. Really not familiar with them, man. I can't give you any input on that at all. At all. Todd to know I've had two 64 Buick Rivieras. They were cool. They are cool cars with 425s on. Yep. Yeah, the Electra that I had, the 66 Electra, never came with a 425. I believe by the numbers it was actually a 65, if memory serves me right. Buick 425 that was in that someone had put into the 66 Electra, to replace the old 401 it would have come out with. The dude, yay, there you go. It didn't work. Well, hang on. It must have worked because your colours changed. You now look on my screen, you, like with everyone else, you were white. All the names come up in white. Now you're like dark blue. So there's something special about you, but it might just be the colour. I don't know. But yeah, and when I click on those three little dots on the side, it now the option, instead of adding you as a moderator, it now says remove as managing moderator. So yeah, you're it, man. It should be working. Driveway of misfits. Remember, gents, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Very true. Very true. But I do have the master button. So, Josh Homan, congratulations. Awesome, buddy. Thanks. Hey, no problem. Thanks for I shot down the screen too far. Where am I at? Wow. Okay, I've done something wrong there. The dude, it didn't work yet. Stray bullet. The dude is a moderator. Yep. Tavo, the dude, log out and back in. There you go. Tavo knows. Just ask Tavo. He's got all the answers. Right. Yeah, there's a new sheriff in town. Stray bullet. There you go. Max Level, welcome back, Kiwi. Did your old pals make fun of your American accent during your trip? What's the bourbon minimum to become to become a moderator? No bourbon minimum. No, I mean, yeah, it was Johnny on the spot there a little bit. The two guys asked, so yeah, there you go. Tabo, thankfully I'm only doing a roof. Luckily it has perfect floors. There you go. I think I'd rather do floors than a roof, to be honest with you, Tabo. They're not easy. Morganizer T, when you do sell your cars, how could we know? I might be keen. Okay. Good question. Which one are you keen on, the Buick or the Falcon? But yeah, you can just reach out and contact me direct. See, as a moderator, this is where you probably don't have my email. As a moderator, you should have my email, you see, and links and all that sort of stuff. Hang on. So there's my email. If anybody wants to email me about a car or whatever and ask a question, just give me an email at work. I will probably won't answer in the first hour, but yeah, sometime that day or the next. Tim Miller got 306 and 4-stick. It got a coffee up carburetor, new motor. Any ideas to fix it? Stumble. 306 and a 4-speed. It's got a cough up carburetor. Okay, 306. Is that a small block Ford, like a board out for it? Small block Ford. And what kind of distributor does it have? Tavo, if I could buy a new roof for it, I'd be laughing. Well, yeah, I've never had the luxury of putting a new. Well, I mean, they do make new roof skins for fastbacks and some of the Mustang coupes, but not all of them. Last roof skin I did was on a '67 Mustang, and we had to cut it off a donor, and that is a bitch of a job, cutting it off the old donor. Josh Homan, I would think that the roof would be one of the easier parts to replace. It kind of is and it isn't. It's not that hard to get off, really. And yeah, putting a new one on, if it fits, it would not be too hard. It's certainly easy to get at. You're not kind of climbing inside, and like it's certainly like you have the car there and you can stand and kind of work on it. So it's easy in that respect. But yeah, when you've got to pick a donor skin off a donor car, that's a lot of work. Cleveland Motors look good. Yeah, they do. They're a bit heavy. They're a little big and a little heavy. So yeah, for that little sunbeam, I would stick with the Windsor. James Martin, 54 stove bolt with a snail, with a turbo, I'm assuming you're meaning. But I'm not sure what you're talking about, but unless I missed a comment here somewhere. Morganiser, the New Zealand longfin eel is a species of freshwater eel that is endemic to New Zealand. They are good eating. I've had them smoked. Yes, I've heard of smoked eel. Yeah, I have. Now that you mention that, yeah, I'd forgotten all about that. I've never tried it. Stray Bullet, the modulars are a little wide. Yeah, that's the problem with them. They're like the Cleveland. They're like the Coyote. They're a little wide. So Morganiser's filling all you boys in about New Zealand fish life. There you go. See, you came here to talk about cars and you're learning about fish or eels. Same thing. Tim Miller. Tiger with a 289 with injector Weber side drafts. Tri-headers. Yeah, that'd be that stack injection kind of thing. That would be very cool. That would be very cool. I love the induction noise that those stack systems give. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Oh, you're spending my money, Tim. You're spending my money. Andy Nickel. Back when I used to drink like a fish, I couldn't drink bourbon. I was a Scotch and beer man. There you go. Yeah, I mean everyone's, everyone, to their own. That's fine. I'm not Scotch. Yeah, Scotch is not really. I can drink Scotch, but it's not my first choice. That's it. I much prefer either of those to like vodka or but any of the white spirits really. I'm not a fan of. Don't like gin. Ugh. Yeah. John McCormick, will there be any collaborations with Uncle Tony this year? He's a character. He is a character. Yes, you're quite right there. But no, there won't be any collaborations with Tony. Tony's, he's doing his thing, and I'm doing my thing. And yeah, he's certainly not made any indications that he wants to do anything. So that's his call. Andy Nickel, now I'm strictly coffee and tea. There you go. I mean, yeah, I get it. I get it. That's good. Good for you, man. There's certainly no long-term health benefits to alcohol, but there's certainly some fun to be had. Morganiser, yep, I'm an admin now. I will try not to let the power go to my head. Easy on the throttle. There you go, man. The dude, yeah, it's working now, Kiwi. I was just a little quick to the draw. There you go. That's fine, man. Barracuda, I'm not sure how we got onto eels, but yes, New Zealand has conger eels. Dad used to catch them near Dunedin. They may be nastier than the barracuda. Yeah, I think they are. They've got a pretty mean reputation. I was thinking they were a bit more warm water fish, but apparently not. Not down in Dunedin. It's not swimming water down in Dunedin. James Martin, U2E as well, usually for diesel low vacuum, but the Hydro Boost much more compact compared to the air unit. Yeah. Obviously, with a diesel, you don't get vacuum ever. So yeah, they need some sort of hydraulic system to boost the brakes up. Yeah, but I hadn't heard that they were a real problem on the Fords. The Dodge that I had, the 2500 Dodge that I had the hydrogen brakes because it was diesel, and that was one of the things that didn't give trouble. Had plenty of other stuff give trouble, but not the brakes. End of time high from the 51st state of Canada. Ooh, that's going to upset some Canadians. I didn't think Canada wanted to be part of the US. John Giddings, did you find out any more info on the Bond equip? No, actually, with everything else that was going on, I really didn't dig too deep into it. Other than I think I mentioned in the video, or I wrote it on the screen or something like that, if I remember rightly. But yeah, it's based on a Triumph Spitfire chassis. That was kind of something that went on a bit back in those days, back in the 60s, in that, and it was reasonably common in England. They're taking floor pans and chassis from other cars and creating a different car, but using a lot of parts from various vehicles and then just creating their own body, which is essentially what the Bond was. But yeah, not a pretty car, but it was cool to see. It was like, there's not that many cars around that I've never heard of. There's a lot of cars that I've only seen in pictures and stuff like that, and they're cool to see in the flesh. But yeah, when you see a car that's like, what is that? That's kind of pretty cool. Tim Miller, yes, yeah. Mate, I would love to do that. That injection with the stacks on it would be awesome, and it would be such eye candy under the hood, because that's a real race car setup. And the little Alpine, that's what I'm kind of hoping for, is to have a real wolf in sheep's clothing, and do something like that. We're even we even talked about. It's going to have a pretty quiet exhaust system on it, so it won't be a giveaway, and we might have that switch, not dumps. The common one is just have the exhaust dumps where you just run from muffled to wide open. I'd like to go like the later model Mustangs do, where you can you can make it really quiet, or just a little bit noisier, still muffled, but loud enough so people know it's a V8. And then you can switch it back to like quiet cruise mode, and then we might do something like that. And it's going to have presumably it'll have twin exhausts out the back somewhere, but I'm going to try and hide them, and we might even put one of the little like a little single pea shooter pipe out the back to make it look like it's original, but just like a non-functional BS little pea shooter pipe, just to try and fool people. We'll see. Andy Nickel, end of time. Yeah, I'm planning to move to Texas as soon as we're American. Okay. Tim Miller, HEI GM 306 Ford motor. Now I'm confused. Or you mean he just have an HEI GM style distributor and a 306 Ford motor? I'm not quite sure what you're saying there, but I'm sorry. Oh, stray bullet. We're going to call the new state of Canada Trump. Oh gosh, yeah, he's been firing a few shots today, isn't he, old Trumpy? Not sure what to make of all that. But yeah, really don't want to get into a political opinions discussion here. But yeah, it's kind of hard to ignore. He seems to be pounding his chest a little bit. Time will tell. That's all we can say for sure is time will tell. End of time. Nothing white out here. It's a warm day today. Well, that's nice. Morgan Isaac, yeah, we should be talking about Holdens and Vauxhalls. Mate, I loved all those old Vauxhalls that I did on that Natia show or video that I did. I hadn't seen any of those cars in 20, 30 years. Just not something I'd seen for a long time, and that was something that brought back memories, which is kind of cool. Barracuda. I've heard that the New Zealand freshwater eel goes on holidays to Samoa once a year. Okay, that sounds like a bit of an urban myth. It's a long way to swim to Samoa, mate. Driveway of misfit. Sounds like we should be talking about marlins and barracudas. Well, yeah, those two. When was the last time anyone saw a marlin driving around? I see a few for sale, but you don't see many of them driving. Beagle Bob, have you ever considered swapping a V6 into anything small like the Sunbeam? Something like a pushrod V6 from the 90s Mustang or a 150? Yeah. If I was going to go away from the V8, and it did cross my mind with the Sunbeam, I know where I can put my hands on a turbo 4-cylinder Mustang. And I think if I was going to go away from the V8 and the sound and the torque that a V8 has, I would probably to go to a turbo 4-banger just for ease of installation as much as anything, and relatively lightweight and good horsepower. But I don't know. That's the hot rodder in me. I guess there's just something about a V8. There's not many things, unless you're talking V10s and V12s, that sound as good as a V8. V6s, unless they're seriously tuned and high revving, just don't make that noise that a V8 does. Now, Tavo. Oh, God. Shot down the page again. Tavo, just a tip for those doing any panel replacement. Keep an eye on the angle grinder with a guard fitted. And just do a mental plan of where it's going to go if it does happen to fly away. Yeah. I'm not quite sure what you did there, Tavo, but you said it was from the front end of the blade. Did your blade break apart, or like what happened there? But I know you had a lot of bandages on your hand, which was a little concerning. And if it's keeping you off the tools for 2 weeks, you must have done a bit of a number on it. So, but yeah, like I said to you when I commented on your video, I've seen too many injuries from people taking the guards off their angle grinders, and I just won't do it. I won't. Sounds very, kind of sounds a bit over the top, but I won't have it in my shop. I just think it's too dangerous. It's too easy for your hand to slide down the angle grinder and just get caught up in that wheel. And apart from that, OSHA would just have you for breakfast if they caught you. Like they're tough on that kind of shit. Um, Stray Bullet, an EcoBoost engine. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but it has crossed my mind. I know there's a guy who lives not far from me, like in this kind of Franklin area, that's got the Mustang EcoBoost 4-banger in a '57 Thunderbird. And it looks, he's done a nice job on it. It looks good. I don't know how it drives. But I think they're 300 horsepower ish or pushing it stock, which is way more than the 312 that it came with. If it had a 292 312 Thunderbird engine that it would have had, it's got way more power than that. So, it's not a terrible option. Dean Stevenson, Tavo is a human guard and the healing fine. There you go. Stray Bullet, these small angle grinders scare the hell out of me. They can do some damage, man. They can do some damage. Dean Stevenson, yeah, it is. If you want to feed the sharks at St. Clair Beach beyond the shark nets, it's freezing but as warm as Bondi Beach in winter for about a week in the southern summer. Good grief. Okay, that's I know where Bondi is, been there a few times, drunk and sober. St. Clair Beach, I'm not familiar with. I take it that's in Dunedin. Tavo, my Dizzle has a vacuum pump on the alternator. My Dizzle. I know what you mean by vacuum pump on the alternator. I'm not sure what the Dizzle is. That's a slang name for some vehicle. Morganizer. People hate on LS swaps, but their hate is emotional rather than fact-based. I say go with an LS in the Sunbeam. There is a load of info available for LS swaps into MX-5 chassis, so you'd be golden. Exactly, and that's another part of the reason, for the LS to be an option. You can buy, engine mount brackets, cradles, everything to put an LS straight into an MX-5 or Miata. The American viewers won't know what an MX-5 is, but that is what they call a Miata in most other countries. They call them an MX-5. But yeah, you can buy rear suspension cradles to put the Ford 8.8 in the rear. You get the 8.8 Ford center section from like a later model Thunderbird or late-ish model Thunderbird, or the Mustang, the late model Mustang with the independent rear. You can take that pumpkin out. They have a cradle that will bolt that straight into the Miata. Then they've got off-the-shelf half shafts. Beefier half shaft that will go from the 8.8 to the Mazda uprights. So yeah, you can just buy it off the shelf, and that's part of what appeals about that Miata MX-5 chassis. Is there's a lot of aftermarket stuff when you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Someone's already done it for you, and that appeals to me because time is something that is. My supply is dwindling, Todd Denio, eels remind me of a snake that swims. That's pretty much what they are, yeah. Around here we have the eel pout, lawyer Burpit, but cooked and dipped in melted butter. It tastes like lobster. Good grief, really? Didn't know that. Dean Stevenson, Waikoutai. I don't even know how to say that. Waikoutai Beach is similarly winter tropical and warm in the middle of the summer. Huh. Blue Hill Cemetery. Thanks for coming back, mate. We're better off with you here. Bundle up. Yeah, mate, that's what I'm doing. Crank the heater up, get a few clothes on, and good to go. And it's honestly, if you work a little bit harder, you warm up anyway, which is better than it is in summertime because all that heat just makes you want to slow down. That cold kind of motivates you to kind of keep moving, otherwise you get cold. So I don't mind the winters so much, really. Robbie Autry, hey man, welcome along. Welcome back home, Kiwi. New Zealand's loss is our gain. Oh, thank you, sir. Tim Miller, 3D print Weber in China with injection. Really? Wow. Barracuda and tarpons, Chris. Yeah, I've heard of tarpons. They're a fairly aggressive fish too, aren't they? I can't believe all these comments on fish. Good Lord. Dean Stevenson, we also have oarfish. Their beachings after storms have gained them a reputation as harbourings of doom, a folk belief reinforced by the numerous beachings. Good grief. There you go. A little piece of information to store away in the limited memory bank. Don Ballot, didn't AMC make a 306? I think they did. International had a 306, or was that a 304 I'm thinking of? Who made a 304? Yeesh. There's one of them, AMC or International. Yeah. Jeff, hi Kiwi. Nice work on covering some HQ holds in New Zealand. What type of bourbon did you pick up for Christmas in New Zealand? Mate, alcohol is so expensive in New Zealand. I couldn't believe it. It is so high. We brought some in through duty free, and basically drank that. That was just Jim Beam. But yeah, alcohol is high in New Zealand, man. Like it easily double the price of what it is here. Easily double the price, probably up to 3 times. Dean Stevenson, PA Vauxhalls are the best lobster car ever. Downsized 57 Oldsmobile sedan. Yeah. That's there's definitely some strong GM influences on that PA Vauxhall. But I think I mentioned that in the video. They would AMC made a 304, and yeah, one of them did. So, so what was the International then? Was that a 304 as well, or was it a 306? International is not one that I've really. I shot too far down the page again. There we go. Todd Denai, I haven't seen a Marlin in years. I like the looks of them, especially the 67. They're not a bad-looking vehicle. They're quite different. They're very similar to a Dodge Charger, the first Dodge Charger. They're very similar, same year as well. But no, they're very scarce. Up and running live on the road. You do see us. I see quite a few for sale on Facebook Marketplace, that kind of thing. But yeah, not many up and running. Laurel Finn, how are you, buddy? That was one of my YouTubers that I caught up with in New Zealand. Just before Christmas, I bid on a mint PC Cresta Viscount. That would have been worth seeing. Yeah, that would have been. They're a cool old car. Barracuda and frostfish, Dean. Frostfish. I've never heard of a frostfish. Tim Miller, no. Get 4-speed and 84 top loader. It got overdrive at more than 1 to 1.6. Replaces all top loader. Huh. Didn't know that. 84 top loader. Has overdrive. So Mopar did one like that, didn't they? They had an overdrive 4-speed. Top Gear was like third, 1 to 1 was third, and then they switched third and fourth around, didn't they? And third became fourth gear, but overdrive. That was an interesting option for an overdrive transmission. Quite clever, really. John Gittins, I see Vauxhall, Crestas, and Veloxes in Natia video. Yeah. The UK imported late 50s Veloxes to the US. I didn't know that. Have you seen any in the States? I have not seen a single one. I would have said there wasn't any here had you not said that. I wasn't aware that any were even sent to the States. I wouldn't have thought they'd have made them in left-hand drive. So that's quite surprising, but hey, that's one thing about the car industry. There's always surprises. Tavo, I was reaching around the pillar to cut the inner side. So just that small cut one-handed. The idle hand just happened to be in line with the runaway grinder. Oh, man. That's unlucky. I can see how that would happen, but yeah, wrong place, wrong time, huh? Hopefully you'll, a couple of weeks rest and you'll be back at it. One-handed on a grinder is, well, I don't need to tell you now, do I? They can be a bit hard to control with one hand. They got some power. They got some torque. I actually quite like. I've got a cordless cut-off wheel, like a Makita one, I think it is, and that's if I'm trying to do something a little more carefully, because it doesn't have that outright power that the mains power cut-off wheel has, or angle grinder, and that cordless one is a lot more user-friendly, shall we say. Like it doesn't bite you like the big ones do. Well, not the big ones, but the mains power ones. They've got almost too much power, and they will get away on you and break discs and stuff like that. If you jam a cut-off wheel, it'll shatter pretty quick. Whereas the cordless one doesn't do that. So it's quite good for more delicate work. It doesn't cut as quick, and you can just kind of, just kind of more delicate. It's better in certain circumstances. If you've got to get through a lot of shit and you don't, you want to just get through it, then the more grunt is better. But if you're doing, some a little bit more delicate work, then that cordless one's really good. Chris Freemesser, what are you drinking? Can you tell me what it is and where I can buy it? The Sunbeam with a Rolls-Royce Merlin would be the greatest car ever. Prove me wrong. Yeah, okay. I probably don't know how to prove you wrong. But yeah, it would be something to behold, wouldn't it? Josh Homan, people don't seem to want old cars. They just want cars that look old. There's some truth to that, buddy. Yep, there's some truth to that. This is why this body swap craze is kind of taking off, where you're putting an older body on the newer cars with all the, the ABS and the stability control and power this and power that, and electric e-brakes and all the stuff that comes, 5-channel ABS and all that stuff. So I'm guilty of that too, because part of the reason for this Sunbeam getting the Miata MX-5 chassis is that I knew, if I put a V8 in the Sunbeam suspension, I knew Mrs. Kiwi wouldn't like it. It needs to. It's got to try and keep up in the modern world. This car is meant to be not a daily driver, but it's meant to be something that she can jump in and drive, shoot down the interstate into Nashville if she wants to, and keep up and feel safe and all that kind of fun stuff. So, the old Alpines were, they were a sports car, strictly speaking, by name only, really, if we're honest. They had very antiquated old suspension and steering and brakes, and they were by today's standards they were not a great car to drive. So that all that old stock stuff just had to go. Otherwise I knew she'd drive it a couple of times and then revert to her regular car. She just wouldn't enjoy driving it. So if you're not going to enjoy driving it, there's really not much point in having it. And some of us love the old stuff for its shortcomings, and that's great. That if you can turn that negative into a positive and you enjoy them for what they are, for all their shortcomings, then that's a true old car guy. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there today that are not really truly old car guys. Yeah, and that's just the way that's the way thing. I mean, we're getting spoiled. Every new car that comes out's got some new thing on it that's making them, the latest and greatest. And the technology is accelerating at a great rate. Dean Stevenson, yes, John Giddings. A few are in the wilds in the US, but not running. Okay. I've seen the PAs in Canada and a couple in the American Midwest. Wow. I had no idea. That's awesome. Tavo, it could have been a lot worse than it ended up. Should be able to hold things soon enough. Wow, you must have done a bit of damage if you can't hold things. Must have been a reasonably deep cut, wasn't it? Tavo, Dizzle Diesel. Okay, Dizzle Diesel. Should have figured that one out, shouldn't I, really? But yeah, oh well. I'm still jet lagged. That's my story. That's my excuse. Barracuda. Lots of white pointers at Bondi, as I recall. You're not talking about sharks, are you, buddy? No. Yes. For those that may not be picking up on that little play on words of the white pointers at Bondi, that's referring to some of the Australian lasses that were partial to going topless on Bondi Beach. Hence the name white pointers. Yeah. Tavo, well, folks, I need to head back to work. Just get to drop in during lunch. Take it easy, Ron. Hey, thanks for joining in, mate. I appreciate it. And yeah, like I said to you the other day, don't hesitate to reach out one way or another if you need some more advice. Maybe we can like FaceTime and try and help you get through what you're doing. Because I know it's tough because you're always worried about making a mistake. That's a fairly ambitious kind of project. So yeah, give me a holler if I can help, man. Noriarty, just a question. How did you get to start up in the US? Has that question been asked? Actually, a lot of people have asked me how why or how I came to the US, but not actually how did you get to start up? So I guess it depends quite exactly what you mean by the question. How did I get to be in the States, or how did I get to start up my business? To be in the States came through the green card lottery, which is just an online thing where you would just apply and they basically your number or your name came up, and then you got picked like a lottery type draw, and that gave you basically put you to the front of the queue to apply for a green card to come to the States. So it kind of puts you right up there. You've just got to prove that you're not a criminal and got a little bit of money behind you, and have something to offer the US. As you can't be like a third grade. You got to be a little bit better than a third grade education or something like that. You've got to have some skill set to offer. I was very lucky with my wife; she's a nurse, so yeah, they always keen to get more nurses. So she's probably that skill set was what certainly took us over the top as qualifying to get into the States. So yeah. And then opening a business here was nothing. Well, it was a piece of cake. You just shoot down to the local county office and pick a name and pay the money, and away you go. Old car Discover and Explorer. How you doing, buddy? 2 foot of snow in the Midwestern United States, -5 for the low. Oh, 5. Yeah, that's cold. Wow. What do we got? Old Car Discover, just saying hi. Glad that I had the availability to catch part of your program today. Oh, glad to have you along, mate. Always glad to have you along. Okay, Barracuda. This damn thing shot up again. Hang on. There we go. Barracuda. I actually meant the AMC tarpon, similar to the marlin. I haven't seen that, but I thought you were talking about the fish. But I mean, tarpon, marlin, both fish. I didn't realise AMC made a tarpon. I wasn't aware of that. AMC was something we saw a few Rambler Rebels down in New Zealand, but yeah, I'm not familiar with the tarpon. Tom Ballot, another LS swap. Nobody needs to see that again. Yeah, I hear you, buddy. I do. I do. Yeah, maybe we just have to go with the stack injection 331 stroked out 302 Ford. I think that'll be pretty cool. Todd Denier, John Giddens in the late 50s, early 60s, Buick Pontiac GMC dealer here, was also a Vauxhall dealership, and he did sell a few, but not many. Huh. How about that? So GM, because Vauxhall was a GM product, but just GM England. Makes sense. Glenn Nickerson, how long of a flight, Kiwi? 13 hours, and that's takeoff to landing. We actually timed it from the time we left where we were staying in Thames in New Zealand, from the time we left there to go to the airport to the time, we buzzed the garage door open at home here, it was 26 hours. So from A to B, so that's the drive to the airport, the flight from Auckland to LA, bit of a 3-hour wait in LA, then a 5-hour flight from LA to Nashville, then the drive home. Yeah, 26 hours. Was there jet lag? Yes, there was jet lag. I'm sort of coming right now, but it's taken a few days for sure. Your body clocks gets well out of whack. Todd Denier, Barracuda, the tarpon was beautiful. Too bad it was never put into production. So it wasn't a production, it was never made. So what was just a custom car? Concept car. Dean Stevenson, 201 inline, 640 horsepower, dual exhaust. The PC Viscount, awesome. It did, however, need 14x9 wheels and an LL60 tyres on the wheels. On those cars were an afterthought. Yes, I get you. Yeah, what do we got? Dean Stevenson, I got one hand on my grinder and the other hand bumping my medical insurance card. Yeah. Well, luckily in Australia, that wouldn't have cost Tarbo anything because that would all have been covered under the government's ACC setup. So the government takes you hurt yourself like that. It's an accident, and the government take care of it, which is kind of nice. Morganizer, Mum had a New Zealand assembled 60s 3.C 6-cylinder PB Velox. I remember being sent under with a hammer to whack the solenoid on the starter to wake it up as a kid. Yeah, that was the thing they did. Doesn't happen much these days. Solenoids seem to work or just not work at all. Nothing make them work these days. But back then, you could give them a little smack with a hammer and they'd come back to life. I remember that. There's something fishy about that. Yeah, there is. You're absolutely right. Beagle Bob, do you like flatheads? Well, let's see. Do I like flatheads? Yeah, there's a place for them. It's not an engine I would go out of my way to mess with, to be honest. It just doesn't have the potential for horsepower that's in the overhead valve motors. But yeah, there's a huge following for them. And they certainly have a cool, very cool look, especially in an open, an open engined, is that the right term? Car like a roadster or a 32 Ford, something without a hood of any kind. That flathead does, they have a cool factor to them. One with Arden cylinder head conversions, that would be cool. But the flathead, there's a great engine they made a gazillion of. But yeah, that three main crank and stuff like that, they certainly had their limitations. And I just like a little more horsepower than the flathead can. And I know you can do quite a bit with them, but really it's about getting it up, to kind of towards the horsepower of just a stock modern V8. Really, not a lot more than. Pardon me, not a lot more than that, and that I'm aware of, even with superchargers and stuff on. Todd and I had an angle grinder kick back on me. It hit 2 inches to the right of the bottom of the zipper on my jeans and bit my inner thigh. Gave me a 3-inch cut, 1/4 inch deep. That was too. Whew, yeah. That's you'd be having a quick inventory on stuff down there, wouldn't you? Make sure everything's in order. Like the cut on the thigh will heal, but that'd be nasty. I watched a guy. We were working on a car of Kevin Tate's. Kevin's the Paintucation YouTuber, and we were working on a car of his. And one of our buddies was using an angle grinder with just a sanding disc on it. So it had that like a urethane backing disc on it to support, just the disc, and the actual urethane backing disc came apart and did almost exactly what you're talking about, like hit him, just to the right. It was right or left, I can't honestly remember, but just off the centre line enough that, and it kind of ripped his jeans, but didn't get him personally. But it was close enough. He was looking pretty pale there for a while. It frightened the shit out of him. I can only imagine, when you would no doubt had some blood and pain and stuff like that. So that would have been very disconcerting, I'm sure. Stray bullet, those wheels can really do some damage. Yes, they can. And that's why you need the guards on them. You've got to have the guards on them, guys. A lot of people go, it makes them too hard and you can't get where you want to be. And, the guards do make it a little more difficult, but holy moly, there's a reason why no even the cheapest Chinesium angle grinders you can buy, they all have guards on them. And if they could save that $1 from not putting the guard on, they would, but they don't. That's what I think should make you think. What have we got here? Dean Stevenson, Dickie Farley. This damn thing shot up the page again. What have we got? Driveway of Misfits. Got to get out, folks. Have a good rest of the week. Always fun to have a few laughs with you, Kiwi. Hey, good to have a few laughs with you too, buddy. Thanks for joining in and your input. That's awesome. Right, let's see what else we missed here. Glenn Nickerson, the circumcision the hard way. Oh, good goodness. Yeah, it'd never be hard again, would it? No. Dean Stevenson, Dickie Farley, it's hard to go overboard with the likes. Kiwi has a funny accent. Have you noticed? I do have a funny accent, but what are you going to do? I think you guys understand me, so that's all good. Funnily enough, nobody seemed to. I don't know whether I reverted to full strength Kiwi accent, as I got off the plane, but nobody said I was sounding American. Nobody at all, and I thought they might. I do feel like my accent has softened a bit with my time here in the States, but Nobody said anything. Dickie Farley. I always picture him saying, "That's not a knife. This is a knife." But that's Australian, mate. You see, that's a different accent. It's a different accent. If you could listen to me and Tavo, like I listen to Tavo's videos, you should go and listen to some of Tavo's videos. He sounds very Australian to my ear. And I think I sound quite different to Tavo. Yeah, so the two accents are quite different, but not everybody sees it that way. Todd Denier, Kiwi, the Rambler Tarpon was based on the smaller Rambler American. Okay. Barry Kudo, I wasn't aware the Tarpon was just a concept car. I've learned something. Hey, it's yeah, there's always something to learn, isn't there? Dean Stevenson, Buick dealerships sold them Vauxhalls as the Envoy or Envoy for a time. Huh. Yeah, I had no idea. So yeah, we're all learning a little bit tonight. Learned a lot more about fish than I ever thought I would know. And, that's okay. But yeah, it's all good. Beagle Bob, Todd, I'd love to restore or keep running a 30s Ford or even get a factory 5 kit and put a flathead in it. So what sort of factory 5 would you put the flathead in, Beagle? Like the Cobra, or they've got some earlier stuff, haven't they, as part of their kits? I tend to think go automatically to AC Cobra with the factory 5, but they've got an old 32 or something like that, haven't they? That they've put on one of their chassis. John Gittins, thinking outside the box for MX5 swap. Lexus V8 has been done in New Zealand by an amateur New Zealand race car driver from Wellington. Cast scene when Brian from Regular Car Reviews comes to New Zealand. Okay. Don't know a lot about the Lexus V8. I guess my only reservation would be the lack of support for it, like the aftermarket support for it, like what's available for that engine. But being a Lexus V8, it's probably going to do pretty good. Yeah. Not a bad idea. There's a lot of different manufacturers of V8s now. We tend to get, tend to get caught in the big three. Mopar, Ford, and Chevy. I just think in those terms. What about a European V8, Audi V8? Someone put a Ferrari V8 in I think it was a V8. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a Ferrari V8 in a Mustang. So, there's lots of alternatives out there. The beauty with any of the big three V8s is, is ease and availability of whatever parts you might decide to put on them. And if anything, the Chrysler, like an LA engine, I think it's a viable swap, for the Sunbeam, because Sunbeam was made by Roots Group, which was English Mopar. Roots Group, made a lot of Chrysler type stuff. That was not like they made the Hillman Hunter, and was all made by Roots, which was Chrysler, which Roots was just a name. Instead of Chrysler England, it was Roots Group, and ROOTES, Roots Group. There's some lineage there from Sunbeam and Alpine through to Chrysler. So it wouldn't be it wouldn't be like putting a Ford in a Chev or a Chev in a Ford. You wouldn't get. You're not going to have that argument because there's some direct DNA lineage to Chrysler. Dean Stevenson, Aussies also love you a lot more with war scars. I worked for an Aussie wood chopper after I tried cutting my thumb off. He started liking my company a lot more. One of the boys got your battle scars. Yeah. Stray bullet. That's a very good point. Cars are too low nowadays to climb under and smack the starter. That's a very good point. You could do that on an old Vauxhall, couldn't you? You could actually get underneath them without jacking them up. That's a very good point. Hadn't thought about it actually. Yeah. Hey, we're running out of time, guys. It's 8:50. We got 10 minutes. God, I think I'm getting a cold from all this, traveling and cold and hot and getting a bit blocked up here. Todd Denier, Kiwi, you're a great fabricator. You should build a tarpon. Plenty of pictures online for reference. I'm going to go and Google that car and have a look. I'm interested to see the concept car. Now, somebody said, okay, yeah, you mentioned he turned it down because he couldn't wear a gate in it. I think you're referring to a hat, right? Is it a gate or gaiter or something? That was a type of hat, wasn't it? Have I got that right? Dean Stevenson, the idea is that you have to work the tolerance on losing limbs. That means you're a profitable powerhouse. Yeah, you got to push the boundaries a little bit, don't you? You kind of, what was an old saying from my rallying days? If you're not living on the edge, you're just taking up space. So yeah, that's how we used to drive. That's how I used to drive. I was always on the edge, but yeah. Todd Denier, hat, not gate. Yeah, I thought that was what you mean. Yeah. Wasn't a gaiter a type of hat? That's what I made the cross reference to. I figured it out. That's the main thing. Hang on. Barracuda, one appealing Vauxhall I saw advertised years ago was a 67 Viva race car with a setback Weber carb 265 Hemi 6 motor. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Shades of Uncle Tony's Slant 6 Miata MX-5. That's a long engine and a little wee Viva. Todd Denier, years ago I saw a Simca Vedette Baloo in a junkyard. Cute car, and it used a Simca built Ford 239 flathead in it. I talked to the owner and he rebuilt it with Ford rings, bearings, and gaskets. Good Lord. Really? Simca Vedette Baloo. I've never heard of that. I would never have dreamed that a Simca would have a V8 of any kind in it, flathead or otherwise. I always associated them with being very small cars, but I'm guessing that was maybe a bigger sedan that they made. That's a complete guess, but Barracuda, for instant pain, try paint stripper on the gentleman's trouser region. Why would you try that, Barry? I mean, seriously. Good grief. Yeah, I had an unfortunate incident of years ago with chopping up some. I was dicing up some peppers, some hot peppers, and which was fine. I didn't cut myself or anything, but I did do a bathroom visit, and shortly after that, I remembered I should have washed my hands more thoroughly before going to the bathroom. Yeah, that was a warming experience. Yeesh. Dickie Farley, I really can tell the difference between your accent, Kiwi, just like giving you a hard time. Fair enough. Honestly, the Australian accent sounds like the Kiwi accent, but more aggressive. That's probably a pretty fair way of describing it, yeah. I mean, obviously, they're so close. They are fairly similar, yeah. And I think it's understandable that, a lot of people can't tell the difference. I mean, I've been mistaken for South African, which I think is vastly different, and for English, which I mean, the English have so many accents. Depending what part of the country you're in England, it's hard to say. But I mean, Kiwis and Aussies all came from England, pretty much for the most part. Came from Aussie and New Zealand. Big Old Bob, the 35 truck. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. They make a pickup truck, don't they? That's right. I knew they made a 30s something. Beagle Bob, I like history as much as racing, if not more. Definitely don't need everything to be the fastest. No, I agree with that. Andy Nickel, back to work. Catch you next week. Hey, man, will do. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for joining in. Don Bell, V12 in a Mustang, I believe. Was it a V12 Ferrari, was it? I was thinking it was a V8. But yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't be sure of either one. So if it was a V12, it was a V12. I don't know. Wish it was possible to edit our comments on here to correct misspelled, incorrect words. Yeah, I know what you mean, bud. I know what you mean. Craig Nearing, I used to work across the street of the AMC body assembly plant in Milwaukee. It was originally the Nash factory. They made the Ambassador there back in the 70s. Okay. Yeah, in New Zealand, they had a few Rambler ambassadors. Well, they AMC ambassadors here. In New Zealand, I think they call them Rambler ambassadors. I remember seeing a two-door hardtop ambassador in New Zealand, and that was just, I was young, and that was far out. That was just like a spaceship, compared to what we were seeing in New Zealand at that time. But I think I was like 13, 14 or something, and two-door hardtops weren't seen. And somebody I don't know, I'm guessing they brought it in from the States or Canada or something like that. But yeah, it was a two-door Ambassador, two-door hardtop. It was gorgeous. At least that's how I remember it. I might look at it differently today. I'd have to look for it again. Vince Valenti, hello from St. Louis. Well, welcome along, man. Thanks for dropping in. Glenn Nixon, that's what I like about my straight axle Rambler. I don't have to jack it up to change the oil. That's true. Beagle Bob, gators are like half chaps as far as I've heard. Oh, okay. I had that completely wrong, didn't I? Completely bass-ackwards. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. Yeah, gators are. Why did I think that was a hat? Too much bourbon. Must be. Jay Weiss, welcome home, Kiwi. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for dropping in. You're a little late unless you've been lurking in the background. But yeah, I'll be out of here and again in a couple of minutes. So it's flown by tonight. It's been fun tonight. Yeah, it's been fun. Vilefly, how you doing, mate? Good to see you along as well. I just discovered aftermarket add-on FLIR vision for cars whilst looking for a dash cam. Kind of neat. Thermalmaster NV300 Max. Still on Kickstarter, but looks neat for avoiding deer and people. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, there's so much new stuff coming out, isn't there? Todd Denier, Kiwi, look up Simca Vedette Baloo. It was a mid-sized sedan. Okay. Vilefly, yeah, you are a bit late to the chat, mate. Barracuda, there was some left on my hand. Oh, there you go. Well, that's the same as my chili pepper story, isn't it? Although, I don't know which would have been worse, actually. Paint stripper, that burns on your skin, on your hands, and your hands are tough. Yeah. Yeah, that would be tough. Don Bell at straight 6 turbo Ford 300 in the Sunbeam would be cool. Okay, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one, Don. I mean, it's a cool engine setup, but not for the Sunbeam. Not for me, anyway. But yeah, I mean, all input is welcome. Jay Wise, hey Kiwi, what do you think about LS engines and Fords? I think the LS should be for GM cars only. Just strange Ford with GM engine. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm talking about putting an LS in the Sunbeam, so I got to be a little bit careful there. But I tend to think, I mean, so many Chevs have been put into Fords over the years. It was a very common conversion, and I think it gained a level of acceptability. I personally would never put a Chevy engine in a Mustang, but like that friend of mine that's got the old 40 Ford Coupe, Doug Anderson, he's got a small block Chevy in his 40 Ford. Now that is a massive upgrade over the flathead V8 that it came with. So yeah, that I can't really tell you why, but to me that's quite acceptable in the 40 Ford. If you're talking about like a 60s Falcon, a Mustang, Fairlane, Galaxy with a Chevy motor, and that seems just wrong to me. But yeah, I know it's hot rodding. You build them how you want. You're not going to please everybody. You're going to be disappointed if you think you can. Man, I was working on my Mustang way back in the day, and had a guy come in, and he criticised me for putting disc brakes on it. He said, "Why would you want to put disc brakes on a Mustang?" He said they had fantastic brakes, stock. Why would you mess around with disc brakes? And he was deadpan, flat out serious. Right? And I'm like, okay. I really didn't know how to respond to that. Like, he was absolutely convinced that stock Mustang brakes were awesome. So, everybody's different, aren't they? Todd Janio, Jay Weiss, the LS is based on a Ford Windsor race engine. You can swap heads and head gaskets with minimal modification. That I didn't know. Huh. So you can put LS heads on a Windsor? That'd be an interesting concept, wouldn't it? Because the LS cylinder heads are good. Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's just yet another thing I've learned tonight. I read recently that Dan Gurney AJ Foyt Le Mans 427 Ford GT had 6 more horsepower than it started with at the end of the 24 hours. Wonder how they measured that. Interesting. Well, as an engine is truly wears in, is complete, the rings and everything are completely sealed. Depends how it amazes me how many people I've seen do like full throttle runs on almost brand new engine that's like done maybe 15-20 minutes on the engine dyno, and they go straight into full power runs. And I was always taught that was not the thing to do, that you need to, like a couple of the race engines I had, we would run them for 4 hours on the dyno, 4 to 6 hours actually. And it's slowly building the RPMs to truly bed the rings in. It takes a little while. It's always been what I've been taught, that like 20 minutes you've run in the camshaft at 20 minutes, but you haven't run the rings in. So that's all I can think that is, maybe they were dynoing them when they were pretty, like a little too fresh. And at the end of 24 hours, they would be either worn out or properly run in, shall we say, with the right parts and stuff in them. If the rings aren't seated 100% after 24 hours, they're never going to be. That's what I would put that down to. But yeah, I really don't like it when they do full power runs, because full throttle runs, puts a lot of heat into the rings, and the rings dissipate their heat out through the wall of the bore. And if the ring isn't touching, obviously the piston ring is going to be very close to the bore all the way around. They're both circles, right? But until they're worn in and the full surface of the ring is touching, one for the depth of the ring and then for the circumference of the ring, until that's all touching like 100%, it can't dissipate the heat as well out, because the piston gets hot, that heat goes into the rings then transfer it out to the bores, which get cooled by the water. So I'd say that's why they had more horsepower. That would be my take on it. All right, guys. Well, we've been going 2 hours and 11 minutes and 35 seconds. So I'm feeling still a little jet lagged and more than a little tired. So I haven't got to all the questions, but I'm going to have to call it a night, guys. Get some rest and get back into it in the morning. Try and make a video tomorrow sometime that we can throw up there for you guys to watch. And so that's my lot. That's my Tuesday Night Live. Hope you enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it. Thanks for joining in, Morganizer. Great to have you as a mod. Thanks for that. And you guys take it easy. Look after yourselves. Look after all your loved ones, and go and have some fun with your cars, guys. Get out there on Saturday, Sunday, as long as it's not snowing, and try and do something with it. Either work on them or drive them, one of the two. But get out there and play with your toys. All right, guys, take it easy. Again, thank you. Don't be shy. Go and buy some merch if you want it. There's T-shirts, beanies. I need to sell those, make a couple of bucks. It'd be nice. And, that can go towards my straight 6 turbo 300 Ford for the Sunbeam. How about that? All right, guys, take it easy. I will see you next week. Good night, guys.